Hello guys. Welcome to my channel, your Tempest Federation. In our previous episode, we have seen the meeting about the magic train. If you have not watched the previous episode, I will put a link in the description below. To quick warning, this video contains spoilers from a light novel. But before we proceed further, please like, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell for further updates. In this video, we will see the next meeting topics and discussion. Now, without further delay, let's proceed further. Although Dalam was smiling like a nice guy, I couldn't help but ask, is this really okay? Let's put that aside for now. Veryard began to speak. As Fuse has mentioned, what Rimuru-sama has said is highly relevant to the future development of Bloomend. King Dalam also predicted that our nation will become an important hub for the flow of goods. I've also had my theory before finally understanding, after hearing your speech. In other words, Your Majesty wishes to make our country a gathering point of all exports, is that right? Your Majesty mentioned that once this magic train appears, the concept of logistics would change forever. If you are making our nation into a hub of sorts, surely goods from all over the continent would come through. In that case, we will need people managing these goods. In addition, if Your Majesty wishes us to investigate what each nation is lacking in supply, that should also be properly arranged. Rimuru-sama, is this the role that you wish our nation to play? As expected from Veryard, being nothing like Fuse, he was quick on his feet. He had spelt out everything in my head. That's the role indeed. Will you be willing to do it? Well, it goes without saying, you can also just provide us with the venue to operate. I shall promise to pay up the fee for using the land with the amount of tariff we earned each year. Surely you jest. You shouldn't underestimate our people as folks who are satisfied with the lazy life of making profits from margins, and exclude us from the system. We will be training our people from now on, so as to prepare for the future. Oh snap. Just how far ahead is this guy planning? I at least had the very competent Raphael sensei with me, but how could this guy catch up with me, using just a human brain? This was beyond being a visionary. This man was very intelligent. Surely Bloomend Kingdom would have dramatic change that completely altered their past values. That was not just limited to Bloomend, but surely there would be some major reformations. Veryard had seen that clearly from the start, and so he had announced that they were already preparing for it. This man was something else. No wonder he managed to get his way with me. I was right to not underestimate this type of person. It's a relief that he's not an enemy, seriously. Then there's a favor that I must ask. I'll need to trouble you guys with investigating the export items to each nation and build a system that delivers what is needed to where they are needed. Since your kingdom has a good intelligence network, won't you be great at the job? Aha, I see Rimuru-sama is not one to be underestimated. Very well, I shall reflect in detail regarding the matter when I return. You can say that about yourself, I thought to myself as I nodded. I was only planning to open a reflection meeting about the festival, yet it turned out to be something so troublesome that it had worn me out. But it had a lot of value nonetheless, since our negotiation with Bloomend was successful. I thought it would take a lot more time to finish this difficult negotiation. Thankfully, Baron Veryard was there. I'm unsure as to whether that was a blessing or a curse, but since we've reached this point, let's just ask them nicely for cooperation. Upon thinking so, I began to worry over what to ask of Veryard. Alright, now that we had finished talking about the difficult topics about running the nation, it was time to proceed with the reflection meeting. I switched up my mood and wanted to hear what everyone had to say. Next. Does anyone else have any opinion? Hearing my words, someone stood up anxiously. It's Veldora. I've got a bad feeling about this, so I'm just gonna pretend that I didn't see. Rimuru, what the hell was that? How am I supposed to answer that? What do you mean? The labyrinth. Of course. I was looking forward to it, and in the end, no one managed to get to the 100th floor. Didn't I just give him a good scolding? Was he not reflecting at all? He really just ignored everything I said. And I wasted my time practicing what to speak. Veldora kept on complaining, which really made me want to reply with a so what. But I held back. If I were to say something like that, he'd definitely lose control. Well, personally I'm not that satisfied with that part either. Right, you're still so reliable as usual. How do you plan to adjust things going forward? It wasn't as if I would get an immediate result upon making adjustments. At least not until we had adventurers who had the abilities to reach there. In any case, based on what happened, there's no way we can proceed with this. Those adventurers were mostly either average or somewhat experienced. They are already pretty good challengers. Pretty good. That sounded pretty rude. But I don't feel like we can deny it either. The Cabal trio seemed down, but you guys spent all your time treasure hunting, so I can be a little salty. Don't be discouraged. All I did was walk the entire time. And for some reason we ended up at level 10. By the time I realized, my companions had already killed the level boss. Masayuki was probably trying to comfort them, but no matter how you saw it, he sounded like he was ridiculing them. But Elin didn't seem that discouraged by it. Perhaps, to the trio, it didn't sound as bad. They looked surprisingly calm, so it was probably okay to leave them alone. In other words, you should think that it is still not your time to shine yet. As for Veldora, there would probably never be a chance for him to shine. What, then were Milam, Ramrus and my efforts in vain? Please count me in as well. Well, I thought this to myself, it'd be best not to quarrel with him for too long. Don't worry. The labyrinth demonstration had a very good promotional effect on the different nations. Ha, Meyermiles-kun, please come and explain. As I ordered, Meyermiles stood up. He then began to explain very confidently to Veldora. Due to the public display of the interior footage of the labyrinth, all of the nations were very intrigued. The fact that a random treasure chest had the chance to give rare grade items also added on to the promotional effect. And it's all thanks to me. I suppose you can put it that way. I guess, all the noblemen from the nations would definitely want to send their adventurers there. Meyermiles concluded his explanation. It seemed that many noblemen hired adventurers or powerful mercenaries as guards. In other words, once these people caught wind of a labyrinth with piles of treasure, they would probably send a large group of adventurers to strike it rich. Meyermiles also mentioned that the noblemen may sponsor challengers in order to obtain the treasure. In addition, unemployed adventurers may want to get involved for the money. They may try to challenge the labyrinth repeatedly. They could probably tell from the experience of that Kai guy that it was very difficult to obtain rare grade gear. I wasn't gonna reveal anything here, but Meyermiles is in fact planning something even shadier. It was something like a lottery. He had decided to spark people's desire to draw lottery tickets. He was gonna intentionally let people see others getting expensive items from the lottery in order to create a competitive spirit. His plan was to make the adventurers and the nobles be our captives, money trap. Moreover, Meyermiles had other things planned out as well. In addition, I also want to establish a prize system. We will tell everyone that once they reach level 100. In other words, when they actually conquer the labyrinth, they can receive a huge prize. Naturally, many nobles would want to sponsor adventurers and other challengers and send them down there, Meyermiles said with a smirk. As long as we make the impression that the labyrinth is a place that will generate enormous profit, even the scourge of noblemen will fall for it. They will probably hire the best of the adventurers, sponsoring them with gear to have a better shot at challenging the labyrinth. These noblemen were the so-called benefactors. If their adventurers performed valiantly, the nobles themselves got to share the glory. Moreover, this had tremendous potential for profitability. In other words, this was enough to motivate the nobles. Moreover, while the noblemen sponsors stayed in our nation, they would also enjoy all the entertainment. It also seemed like a good idea to use the live footage of the labyrinth walkthrough as an attraction. We would also be opening a variety of other projects as ways to attract more consumers. Speaking of sponsors, I was even more impressed by Meyermiles upon hearing his proposal. He was already a bad boy in my book, but I didn't expect him to take it that far. Indeed, surely the sponsors will be happy as well if their challengers acted violently. He really did think of everything. One last thing. I needed the help of the Freedom Association with several project ideas I had with Meyermiles. Veldora also seemed to have been suppressed by Meyermiles' presence and became a lot more well-behaved. This was a good opportunity for him to bring it up. Meyermiles began to discuss the matter. Leader of the Freedom Association, Yuki Kagurazaka-sama, the thing is, we have a favor to ask, or rather, we have a proposal. Proposal? What would that be? As I have just mentioned, our nation will be providing prizes for the labyrinth walkthroughs. I would like the Freedom Association to handle the matter. Why? The biggest reason is for the promotional effect. Your association has divisions set up in different nations. It will be the fastest and most effective way to promote. I see, that makes sense. But what other reason do you have? Yes. In order to manage the challengers, I would like to utilize the identity cards of the adventurers. I see now. Seriously though, that's some idea you've come up with. I'm not sure if Yuki was impressed or shocked. He fell into his own thoughts as he sighed. Our nation could also issue the permits to enter the labyrinth, but that would take a lot of extra work. We wanted to lower the budget as much as possible and borrow the labor of the Freedom Association. Such planning to exploit others was the core of Meyermil's proposal. That's it for today, guys. See you next one. For further more update, please like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to push notification bell.